All right, the first cocktail that we're going to make is the daiquiri. We're going to use a shaker for the daiquiri because we're going to use lime juice, and typically use the shaker for cocktails that require citrus, and we use the stirrer for things that don't, for things like Manhattans, martinis, Negronis, etc. So shaker for the daiquiri. So the ingredients are 2 ounces of rum. You can use light or dark rum. I'm choosing to use dark rum because that's all I got, and that's totally okay. The next ingredient is 3/4 of simple syrup, which I prepared earlier, of course, and 1/2 ounce of lime. And I'm just gonna eyeball this one because it's all good, and I'm drinking it, so who cares? 1/2 ounce of lime. I think fresh lime juice is what makes cocktails so good and so tasty, especially at home. Then we have our ice. When you shake a cocktail, good to put in the ice into the big guy. And then we have the little guy here. We're gonna pour it into the big guy. And whenever you shake, good to make a watertight seal of the cocktail shaker to make sure that when you shake, no liquid falls out, of course. And so now we're gonna shake. What's important about shaking is that you want the ice to hit both sides of the shaker so that the ice can flow throughout the whole shaker and make the drink really cold. So here we go. All right, so you can hear, obviously, the ice hit both sides of the shaker. You'll know you're done, if you can zoom up close here, that the shaker has condensation on it, and that means it's super cold, and that's when you know you're done shaking. So sometimes you have to slap this guy to get the small guy off. So now we have our cold cocktail here, and then now we have our strainer. I'm gonna put that guy on top. What I've done with this glass here is put ice water in there to make it really cold. Totally not necessary, but if you want to have a premium at-home experience, you can make the ice at the cup really cold. So here we go. We're gonna pour the fresh cocktail into there. Looks beautiful. Oh, beautiful. That's all good. And so our last step is the garnish, but I think in the aim and in the vein of being prepared and being clean, what I like to do is to clean up my materials first before I garnish so that I can set myself up for success. So I'm gonna dump this out. I'm gonna put this on this towel here, it's over here. And so now I'm ready to go for my next cocktail. And then now I can garnish with my little lime wheel that I've put a slit into. And there you go, that's a daiquiri. So our next cocktail is gonna be the Old Fashioned. It is, of course, a classic cocktail and only has 2.5 ingredients. So the most basic of cocktails and really great for home bartenders. So we're going to use a stirring glass. Like we mentioned earlier, shaking is great for citrusy cocktails like the daiquiri. Stirring is great for things like Old Fashions, Negronis, Manhattans that don't have citrus. So the first ingredient is, of course, good old-fashioned bourbon. I like to use bourbon instead of rye in my Old Fashions. So, oops, spilled out a little there, which is all good since we're at home. The next ingredient is 3/4 of simple syrup. Throw that in there. And then the last ingredient is a few dashes of Angostura bitters. And here's a dash, 1, 2, 3, and that should be totally sufficient. Now, with stirring, we're gonna pour our ice directly into the stirring glass. I have, of course, my tea here, my teacup, but you can use a pint glass or anything else you have at home. So now I'm gonna use my stirring spoon. If you don't have one, it's all good. You can do a chopstick or just regular old spoon. What's important here is that you consistently stir and regularly stir until the liquid becomes really cold. Similar to shaking, you know you're done when the glass starts to frost over and you can really feel it get cold. And you can actually feel the ice start to melt inside the glass a little bit, which helps dilute the cocktail and make it not so boozy and totally tasty to drink. So we're gonna put our strainer on top and we're gonna pour the cocktail in here, which I have my big rock glass inside, a rock ice cube inside the rock's glass. And that looks beautiful and gorgeous. And our last step, of course, is a garnish, but in order to get myself prepared, I'm gonna dump this out, give this a quick rinse, get myself ready for the next cocktail. And the last step is, of course, garnish. So here's a really important thing about garnish. You want to get the lemon peel and squeeze it to get those oils out into the cup. And then what you're going to do is then wipe the lip of the cocktail with with the lemon peel to get the citrus onto the lip of the glass, and then stick it in there, and there you go. That is an old fashioned.